The Audiovisual. In March of 1995, a limousine carrying Ted Koppel, the host of ABC TV's Nightline, pulled up to the snow-covered curb outside Morrie's house in West Newton, Massachusetts. Morrie was in a wheelchair for time now, getting used to helpers lifting him like a heavy sack from the chair to the bed and the bed to the chair. He had begun to cough while eating, and chewing was a chore. His legs were dead. He would never walk again. Yet, he refused to be depressed. Instead, Morrie had become a lightning rod of ideas. He jotted down his thoughts on yellow pads, envelopes, folders, scrap paper. He wrote bite-sized philosophies about living with death's shadow. Accept what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. Accept the past as past without denying it or discarding it. Learn to forgive yourself and to forgive others. Don't assume that it's too late to get involved. After a while, he had more than 50 of these aphorisms, which he shared with his friend. One friend, a fellow Brandeis professor named Morrie Stein, was so taken within the words that he sent them to a Boston Globe reporter, who came out and wrote a long feature story on Morrie. The headline read, "A Professor's Final Course, His Own Death." The article caught the eye of a producer from the Nightline show, who brought it to a Koppel in Washington, D.C. "Take a look at this," the producer said. Next thing you knew, there were cameramen in Morrie's living room, and Koppel's limousine was in front of the house. Several of Morrie's friends and family members had gathered to meet Koppel. And when the famous man entered the house, they buzzed with excitement, all except Morrie, who wheeled himself forward, raised his eyebrows, and interrupted the calm Moore with his high sing-song voice. "Ted, I need to check you out before I agree to do this interview." There was an awkward moment of silence. Then the two men were ushered into the study. The door was shut. "Man," one friend whispered outside the door, "I hope Ted goes easy on Morrie." "I hope Morrie goes easy on Ted," said the other. Inside the office, Morrie motioned for Koppel to sit down. He crossed his hands in his lap and smiled. "Tell me something close to your heart," Morrie began. "My heart?" Koppel studied the old man. "All right," he said cautiously, and he spoke about his children. They were close to his heart, weren't they? "Good," Morrie said. "Now tell me something about your faith." Koppel was uncomfortable. "I usually don't talk about such things with people I've only known a few minutes." "Ted, I'm dying," Morrie said, peering over his glasses. "I don't have a lot of time here." Koppel laughed. "All right, Faith." He quoted a passage from Marcus Aurelius, something he felt strongly about. Morrie nodded. "Now let me ask you something," Koppel said. "Have you ever seen my program? Morrie shrugged. Twice, I think. Twice, that's all? Don't feel bad, I've only seen opera once. Well, the 2 times you saw my show, what did you think? Morrie paused. To be honest? Yes. I thought you were a narcissist. Coppel burst into laughter. I'm too ugly to be a narcissist, he said. Soon the camera were rolling in front of the living room fireplace, with Coppel in his crisp blue suit and Morrie in his shaggy gray sweater. He had refused fancy clothes or makeup for this interview. His philosophy was that death should not be embarrassing. He was not about to powder its nose. Because Morrie sat in the wheelchair, the camera never caught his withered legs. And because he was still able to move his hands, Morrie always spoke with both hands waving. He showed great passion when explaining how you face the end of life. Ted, he said, when all this started, I asked myself, am I going to withdraw from the world like most people do? Or am I going to leave? I decided I'm going to leave, or at least try to live the way I want, with dignity, with courage, with humor, with composure. There are some mornings when I cry and mourn for myself. Some mornings I'm so angry and bitter, but it doesn't last too long. Then I got up and say, I want to leave. So far, I've been able to do it. Will I be able to continue? I don't know. But I'm betting on myself that I will. Coppel seems extremely taken with Morrie. He asked about the humility that death induced. Well, Fred, Morrie said accidentally. Then he quickly corrected himself. I mean Ted. Now that's the inducing humility, Coppel said, laughing. The two men spoke about the afterlife. They spoke about Morrie's increasing dependency on other people. He already needed help eating and sitting and moving from place to place. What? Coppel asked. Did Morrie drag the most about his slow, insidious decay? Morrie paused. He asked if he could say this certain thing on television. Coppel said, go ahead. Morrie looked straight into the eyes of the most famous interviewer in America. Well, Ted, one day soon, someone's gonna have to wipe my ass. The program aired on a Friday night. It began with Ted Coppel from behind the desk in Washington, his voice booming with authority. Who is Morrie Schwartz? He said, and why? By the end of the night, are so many of you going to care about him? 1,000 miles away, in my house on the hill, I was casually flipping channels. I hold these words from TV set. Who is Morrie Schwartz? And went numb. It is our first class together. In the spring of 1976, I entered Morrie's large office and noticed the seemingly countless books that lined the wall, shelf after shelf. Books on sociology, philosophy, religion, psychology. There is a large rug on the hardwood floor and a window that looks out on the campus walk. Only a dozen or So students are there, fumbling with notebook and syllabi. Most of them wear jeans and earth shoes and plaid flannel shirts. I tell myself it will not be easy to cut a class this small. Maybe I shouldn't taking it. Mitchell, Morrie says, reading from the attendance list. I raise her hand. Do you prefer Mitch or is it Mitchell better? I haven't ever been asked this by a teacher. I do a double take at this guy in this yellow turtleneck and green corduroy pants, the silver hair that falls on his forehead. He's smiling. Mitch, I say. Mitch is what my friends called me. Well, Mitch, it is done, Morrie says, as if closing a deal. And Mitch? Yes? I hope that one day you will think of me as your friend.